Great.
Well, we have a couple of questions from Emilio from Argentina. The first one is, what expectations do you have with telling your story through this film?
Well, I suppose it's the same as I had for writing the book. It is to reach people and to help them to understand the dynamics of violence against women and certainly family violence, the far-reaching effects that don't just go away with a change of circumstance or a little counseling or something like that. I want them to understand that it affects everyone. Everyone has a role in, frankly, a positive solution. Everyone has a role in a negative solution, because we're all making our impact, whether it's the one we wanted to make or otherwise. But it really is everyone's business. And the more conversations we have and stories we can tell, the more other people are empowered to share their stories and to really consider what their options are and where they want their life to be, what they want their life to be.
Okay.
Sophie, here
Right
is
here with
Emilio.
Emilio.
He's the editor of entertainment from El Liberal newspaper. Hola, Emilio.
Hola, muy buenas tardes. Un gusto y un placer poder entrevistarla, Lizbeth. Muchas gracias.
Por favor, Sophie ya arrancó con tus preguntas. Adelante,
Perfecto.
Sophie.
Perfecto. Voy a hacer la siguiente pregunta. No sé si Sophie
Ya arrancó, Emilio, así que ya se las pasaste por WhatsApp. Vamos por la segunda, ¿sí?
Perfecto, perfecto entonces. La pregunta es, ¿está contenta con el producto final de la película?
So, Lizbeth, the question is, are you happy with the final product of the film?
Absolutely. I'm very happy and content with it. They did a wonderful job of capturing the essence of the story.
La historia está basada en su libro, pero le pregunto, ¿tuviste algún rol activo en la producción o desarrollo del film?
The story is based on your book, but did you have any active role in the production or development of the film?
Yes, I had some. I really did. It was made smaller, very likely by the pandemic. So I would have been on set had the pandemic not occurred, at least for a couple of days. But I still got to speak with the producer and with the script writer and review the script and give input that they did take very seriously.
Bien. Después de que sus hijas fueron con su padre, ¿cuándo fue el momento en que te diste cuenta o comenzaste a pensar que tu ex planeaba retenerlas para siempre?
After your daughters met their father, when was the moment you realized or started to think that your ex was planning to keep them forever?
Oh, of course, I had fears that this would happen because he had threatened this before, but it had been years, years before. I'd left 4 years earlier. That day when I went to the daycare to pick the children up, and then I found out that he had moved out of his apartment. He didn't show up to drop them off. I knew that there was no question that he had left the country. It took a long time for the police to catch up with that and to be able to prove that, which I understand, but I knew that was the beginning of the end as we knew it.
Okay. ¿Cuál fue el momento más difícil de toda tu historia lejos de tus hijas?
What was the most difficult moment during your time away from your daughters?
Oh, gosh, I would say it wasn't just one moment. It was every day wondering if they would be sick without me. Would they die? Would they be injured by their father? Would worse happen to them than an injury? So I would say I turned 30 years old while they were gone. And I remember that birthday being soul crushing, but I also remember people calling, people I hardly even knew, called to wish me happy birthday. This was before social media, before you had Facebook or something saying it's my birthday. People calling and leaving message after message after message, and it was very touching. But that was a really difficult, the whole thing was difficult. That was a difficult moment. Not getting my children back the first time I went to Greece, you know, that I failed that effort, and it felt like maybe I would never see my kids again. That was very difficult to go and spend weeks there and go home without them. That was also another awful moment.
¿En algún momento pensó en que nunca recuperaría a sus hijas?
Did you think that you will never recover your daughters?
Mostly, I felt very strongly to not entertain those thoughts. Mostly, I felt I could imagine it. Like when they left, I started imagining us getting off the plane together. I imagined a song that still to this day makes me cry, but I imagined what song would be playing and the getting off the plane together and all of that. That's what I tried to do. But there were times where I definitely thought, oh, I might never see them again. At that time, when children were taken away from parents out of the country, more than half never returned during their childhood. So it was scary, and I just tried not to sit with those thoughts.
Lizbeth, le quería preguntar, ¿conoce usted el caso de la argentina Gabriela Arias Uriburu? Ella dijo, aquí le voy a leer textual lo que expresó: agradezco a la historia que me enseñó a rendirme a mi ego de mamá y me colocó en la sabiduría de seguir adelante más allá de mí, más allá de mi depresión, de mi inmensa pena y tristeza. Y la otra pregunta es, ¿qué te enseñó tu historia a vos?
Estás en mute, Sophie, estás en mute.
Sorry. There is a case here in Argentina of Gabriela Arias Uriburu. She's an activist human rights who 25 years ago suffered the kidnapping of her 3 children from a Jordanian businessman, her ex-husband, who extracted their children from Guatemala without her consent. And she said that I thank the story that taught me to surrender to my mommy ego and gave me the wisdom to move on beyond myself, beyond my depression, my immense sorrow and sadness. What did your story teach you?
Oh, that is just beautiful. That is very beautiful. I think my story also taught me to just, for the first time in my life, say, oh, I can do the impossible. You know, before my children were taken, I didn't have that sense of self, of strength or community. And suddenly there was something so worthwhile, these 2 people who deserved a fabulous future. And so suddenly I felt that excitement that I could do when things were good. It wasn't always, but I felt like this I can do. I can do the impossible with plenty of help. And I won't take no for an answer. Everywhere I went, people told me no, whether it was local police or the district attorney, the state, federal government, or the Greek government. No, at every point. And I never thought that I would be arrested. Certainly, that was never a dream of mine, but I had found somebody, and some 2 young somebody so worthwhile that it really was worth risking everything and having an image of what could be and going for it. It was very empowering.
Lizbeth, muchas veces las sobrevivientes de violencia de género, por temor o por diversas situaciones, no suelen denunciar o dar a conocer sus casos. y generándole, por cierto, problemas muy fuertes. Quería consultarle a usted y preguntarle cuál es su consejo en relación a esto. ¿Qué es lo que aconseja a las sobrevivientes de la violencia de género?
Many times there are survivors that do not show their cases. What is your advice for them, for these survivors that do not show us what happened to them?
Well, I feel like every person has the right to do as they see fit. It is not something that most of us, it's not our proudest moment that we ended up in a situation where the person that we thought would love us, in fact, treated us horribly. And so I definitely want to respect everyone's right to do as they wish, but I would say that writing about or getting support or speaking our stories does help with not just our own healing, but it invites other people to understand the problem better. And if they're experiencing something similar, to get help and support and to know that there can be a better future. And if we all kept quiet and kept silent, we would all suffer in our own little columns, in our own little worlds. And that would not be a good thing. So, I definitely want to say, people don't have to share their stories, but there is healing and empowerment in doing so. And there's a lot of shame and stigma when we feel like we can't talk about the thing that happened to us.
Lizbeth, ¿cuánto ayuda a generar conciencia acerca de la dolorosa problemática de la violencia de género que canales como Lifetime emitan películas como las que se va a poder ver y también ciclos dedicados exclusivamente a esta problemática?
How much does movies like Lifetime did this one help to generate more conscious about the problematic?
It's amazing how much impact a movie such as this has. I had really no idea because I didn't have cable TV for the longest time. So I didn't really know how much people watch these movies. They do. And I know now because even before my book became a movie, I heard people talking about other stories they'd seen on Lifetime as an example and the impact it made. Where I live now, I do some substitute teaching. And I hear often among the teachers that they're watching, that their weekend will be watching Lifetime. And so it helps bring these issues to the forefront. It shines a light on the problem. And when we do that, we also give opportunity to develop resources to address the problem. It does not normalize, I hope, violence, but it shines the light on what a horrible thing it is, generations deep. There is a popular movie I like from Pixar called Coco, where it talks about the Coco, the movie is a lot about intergenerational trauma. I love that movie, but it is true that what happened to me, or even let's say what happened to my grandmother, who I never met, very much impacted my day-to-day life. So these things carry on through generations if we allow it. And I think it's very important that we have places like Lifetime to share important stories, not just of trauma, but of resilience and hope.
Lizbeth, ¿considera usted que a nivel mundial ha cambiado un poco la mirada o hay una mayor conciencia acerca de que se debe seguir, que valga la redundancia, generando conciencia acerca de la problemática de la violencia de género, o todavía hay una lucha larga por dar por esas cosas de que aún sobreviven fuertes parámetros patriarcales?
Do you consider that globally there is more awareness about this problematic, or it still need more to do about it?
Well, wonderful question. I feel like we were on a roll, even worldwide, some years ago. I feel like we've taken a few steps back. And I think the pandemic has made things much harder. When I was looking at numbers in South America and Latin America yesterday, it follows what we see in the United States, which is that the isolation that the pandemic created put people more at risk who were experiencing violence, especially in their homes. And so, at least in the country I'm in right now, we're losing footing. And I think that we need to continue to share stories and remind people that these are issues that affect all of us financially, emotionally, and otherwise. And if we think to ourselves, oh, thank goodness we have domestic violence, awareness month, or, nonviolence of women, all of that, that's wonderful. That's a wonderful start, but that's all it is. And it's something that we need to keep at the forefront of people's minds, because it can change. We can change in a positive direction, or we can revert, as we have done a little bit.
Thank you,
Muchísimas
Emilio.
gracias,
Thank you.
Lizbeth. Le agradezco muchísimo su tiempo y la belleza de sus palabras. Muchas gracias.
Gracias. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.